friends, it's been a little while since I put a video out. I've had enough energy to really get out here and do a lot, but I got to do something. I ran across an edger with a 3 horsepower motor on it. That's way too much horsepower for an edger, but 3 horsepower is pretty good for a project I've got coming up. Naturally, it won't start. It has compression, it has spark. The only thing left is gas, probably a clogged carburetor. So that's this fix. So the first thing we want to do is make sure it has compression. Now, that's easy enough. I can feel it's got compression. Then we want to make sure it's got spark. Just put a screwdriver on the spark plug cable. Take a look there at the screwdriver where it's near the spark plug. You can see a spark. Okay, so let's pull this plug out. But that's not the right plug wrench. So I know we have spark here at the wire, but the question is, do we have spark at the spark plug point gap? That spark plug is looking very clean. Almost like new. You know, sometimes you find these things and all that's really wrong with them is that they're out of gas.
Has it got gas in it? Mm-hmm.
Well, it's hard to get the camera to look in that gas tank. Okay, well that gas tank is pretty dirty. So I think we'll just pull the carburetor and the tank and clean all of it. And one of the things we need to do is get this shroud off. And the reason we need to do that is because the carburetor is attached to this fan blade in there that is the governor. So this edger is a really poor design. You have to remove the engine to get this shroud off. And that kind of sucks because getting that shroud off is a kind of a common thing to do. So here I am disassembling the edger. And the fact of the matter is I have no intention of using this thing as an edger anyway. I just want this 3 horsepower engine off here. Okay, well it's mostly clean, it's degreased. It is not clean enough to throw a paint job on, but I want to get it running first. So looking at this carburetor, there's a bunch of dirt there, but it's really not that bad in the grand scheme of things. I will just hit that with some carb cleaner, remove this needle valve and clean it. That may be all it needs. So I go through quite a lot of this stuff. It's called brake parts cleaner, any brand. So this stuff here is $2.99 a can for 13 ounces. If it has a label that says carburetor cleaner on it, it's $4.99 a can, and instead of 13 ounces, you only get 10 ounces. But it's the exact same stuff, acetone pressurized with CO2. And you notice how I just let it go everywhere? Because it will evaporate. And then all I have to do is wipe the residue off. Now presumably this carburetor was adjusted correctly, and the way we're going to make sure that it gets back to the way it was is this needle valve. We're going to screw it in half, 1, half, 1.5 turns, and it bottomed out. So now we know that's how far out. You screw it all the way in and then half, 1, half. But we're going to remove it and see what it seats against. That's not looking too bad. A little bit of dark spot on the end, varnish. You take a look down in there, there's a brass seat. We'll take that out too. See what things look like in there. I hope you guys can see that. Anyway, there's just a little passage in there. Blasting that with some of that carb cleaner should clear that out just fine. Put that back in. Did I mention that this stuff is pretty nasty? Acetone, you know, you don't want it getting on your skin. Yeah, if it gets in your eye, you're not going to be happy about that. Okay, and once again, we run this in till it seats, then half, 1, half. And that's actually a pretty common setting for that needle valve on carburetors. I don't want to risk unscrewing these. These are, sometimes these are pressed in, sometimes they're screwed in. You don't want to risk unscrewing that, especially on something this old, because that'll just break right off. And if that happens, you have just run out of luck. I want to pull this side off here too. Now if we're lucky, this gasket will stay intact when we pull this apart. And we got lucky. It's still nice and pliable. Here's something funny. Right there is a little piece of weld spatter. Now, sometimes inside a carburetor, they will use a tiny ball bearing as a check valve. And for a second there, I thought that piece of weld spatter was one of those check valves. I have to grind that off. I think we can put this back together. Okay, so there's quite a bit of residue in this gas tank. I'm going to just hose it out as best I can. Now this thing's been sitting for 3 months. And the problem when that happens is sometimes you don't remember just how it came apart. So there are a lot of engineers in the world that give absolutely no thought to the concept of maintaining a thing. And one example of such poor engineering is these screws right here that hold the carburetor onto the engine. You cannot access them with a screwdriver. But they did also make it so you could get a wrench on it. But it's a major pain. Yeah, engineers, gotta love them. This is an example of not the greatest design. These tabs get bent over and that's what holds the reel into the shroud. And they can only be bent and unbent so many times. But on the bright side, they did put 2 extras because they know that they're eventually going to break. Now, one thing you don't want to do is pry against this reel because it's plastic and it will break. Now, another area of concern is that there's a spring in there that's all wound up, and when I pull this out, it's going to become unwound. See that? But we've got to get that out because I want to change this rope. And it's so filthy, it's not functioning properly. Now you see on the end, it's like a slight T shape that goes into that slot sideways, and then when you turn it, it locks itself into place. Now just like on the pulley end, there's another slight T section, and that goes into a very similar hole in the shroud. You also want to make sure the inside of that hole right there is nice and clean.
Make sure there's no burrs in it.
If you find yourself getting a new electric toothbrush, the old electric toothbrush is pretty good for this kind of work. Now that thing,
The clutch.
that feels nice and smooth. Alright, so that was pretty dirty. There's still some rust in there, but I'm just going to let it go. It's not really that bad. You want to clean the spring and clean this reel too. The spring is encrusted pretty badly with grime. Now you want to have some lubrication in here. And something that I like to use is this Teflon spray lube, because it goes in wet and then it dries to, it's like it leaves a Teflon grease in there. Now there are a number of ways to do this. You clean that out, you put some lube in there, you run the spring in, small end first. You hook it on your reel, and then you take your reel and slip it on down into the little compartment where it goes. And then you start winding. Anti-clockwise on a Briggs Stratton 3.5 horse. It might be different on other motors, but the principle is the same. And yeah, you just wind this spring on in there. Now if you let go of the reel, it will unwind on you. And then you'll have to start this from the beginning. Okay, and then when you get down to the end, that'll just drop right into that area that holds it. See, so it's hooked. Now, We'll continue to put some preload on the spring. Some people say wind it as tight as you can get it. I don't think that's necessary. But you do want it fairly tight, because once it gets dirty again, it's not going to want to retract as easily as it will this first time when all the lube is fresh and everything's clean. The next thing you want to do is line up that hole with that tube. That tube is where the rope comes out. Anyway, then you get yourself a pair of vice grips, and you don't want them too tight because they will break that reel. You want it just tight enough to keep that reel from spinning. So you get your old rope and you want to measure how much there was. In this case, it was 3.5 feet. Now this is pretty neat. I bought a 3-pack of these ropes. Yeah, these are plenty long enough. These are a good 8 or 9 feet long. But one thing that I was going to advise you to do is cut the end of the rope at an angle and burn it. But these guys already did that for me. Now, before I even started this, I really should have tied the knot in the rope. But not too late to go back. And all it takes is what's called an underwriter's knot, the most simple knot there is, and then pull the rope on through. Now remember, we have plenty of preload on that spring. Now I'm going to go ahead and clamp that again, and I'm going to measure out my 3.5 feet. And something else I want to do, they gave me a new handle, and I actually like this one better because it provides a place for more fingers to grab. We'll go ahead and thread that through the handle, pull out all but our 3.5 feet, then tie another underwriter's knot there. Then you want to bend these tabs back. Now remember, there are 4 tabs in here, and the reason there are 4 is that 2 are spares. You do not want to bend all 4 tabs down. Just bend the 2 that you bent up in the first place, and if one of them breaks, that is when you default to the other tabs. You want that nice and loose, and it should retract and wind the cord just like that. Earlier models of this engine had nylon rubbing blocks that you would put onto these tabs. They did away with those. I guess that's a cost-cutting measure. But that's working real nice. Now, one thing I neglected to show earlier, because I didn't do it, was when you put the carburetor back on, that is the time to put this rod through this little fan blade. And I should have hooked that in there, but since I put the carburetor on and had not done that, I just bent the rod, hooked it through there, bent it back. Here's how this works. This is the choke, and all it is a little flap right in there. This is the throttle. The throttle, the cable would attach right here, and then attach to this hole here. And what that does is that pulls on this, and this is your throttle adjustment. And the way this works is, you see these blades here, if this engine starts over revving, it will throw enough air onto this little fan blade here and begin to close this carburetor down, and that keeps it from over revving. So you do not want to omit that, because if you do, that's what leads to things like throwing a connecting rod through the side of the block. And that's bad. That's very bad. Something we need to do is figure out what to do with this. This wire is the kill switch. I think the way I'm going to do that, since I want this self-contained, is I'm going to use this little toggle switch. I'll just punch a hole in the shroud here, bolt it in, and what happens is when the switch connects this wire to ground, it kills the magneto coil.
So I drained the old oil out and got just about 2 cups, which as I recall is just about the right amount. Then we need to put new oil in.
Now, the type of oil is something that you would want to give some consideration to. For example, you would not want to use synthetic oil in an old motor like this, because synthetic oil, while it's nice and slippery, it might be too slippery. And there are things that can happen, like you can burn your valve seats. Personally, I don't give it a lot of consideration. I'm using Supertech non-detergent SEA 40 which I found at a yard sale in an unopened jar for $1. So that's what it's getting. And please, friends, always dispose of used motor oil properly. In 1977, Popular Mechanics said the proper way to dispose of used motor oil was to dig a ditch in your backyard and fill it with gravel and pour the used motor oil in there. These days we know better. Most auto parts stores will take it for free. Brand new air cleaner, $4.99 on Amazon. Put some gasoline in there. Probably want some starting fluid. One thing I think we need to do is hold that throttling in place, since we have no throttle mechanism. Well, that, my friends, is a success, and that means for the first time in over a year I'm going to release a video. So the next thing I'm going to do is install a centrifugal clutch on this thing, which I happen to have, then attach it to something with wheels. And if you want to see the result of that endeavor, find me on Instagram. My name there is wildman.tech. So please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Click up here to see my last video. Click up here to see something of mine that YouTube thinks you'll like. And have a good one.